Thank you to my members for making this video possible. You guys are the best. Mwah! There's a strange kind of beauty in sorrow, and I think Dark Souls encapsulates that idea very well. If you've ever wandered through the dying world of Dark Souls when you yourself are feeling a bit more sad than the average person, then the chances are you felt it too, that feeling of being utterly alone, insignificant, and yet, somehow, not entirely hopeless. Because Dark Souls, despite everything it's known for, its crushing difficulty and its endless cycles of death and decay, is not as much of a story about despair, just as much as it is a story about despair. It's clear that these are stories about perseverance and also, importantly, human connection on many different levels. About the choice to either protect those relationships, no matter how small it may seem, or to forsake those around you for the dark to thrive. When you first awaken in the Undead Asylum, the world offers you nothing and no one. No warmth, no kindness, just a broken down prison and a fading prophecy. You are undead, cursed to rise again and again after every single death, a fate that has driven countless others in that same world to madness, and yet you press on anyway. You step into Lordran, a world that is already far past its golden age. Anor Londo, once a radiant city of sun, lies bathed in this false sun maintained by the Dark Sun. New Londo is flooded, not by nature's wrath, but by the desperate hands of Gwyn trying to contain a horror he could not destroy nor push back. Every single thing that you encounter with Dark Souls reminds you, this world is dying after all. It isn't a question of how long it will take for the flame to die out, only when. But, in actuality, it's here where Dark Souls reveals something hidden beneath its ash-covered exterior. Because even in this world of rot and ruin, beauty still persists. The most obvious case of this beauty within the dirt is Firelink Shrine. That soft, melancholic music, the cawing of everyone's favourite crow, that quiet comfort of the bonfire, and the rays of true sunlight that quietly peek out over the scenery. A place that is fragile, but it's also honest, a safety in a world that can guarantee you nothing. It's not much, but it feels like home. And going back to the topic of human connection in Dark Souls, there are a few that might come to your mind, but there is one most obvious case. Solaire of Astora, the ever-hopeful knight who dreams of his own son. He stands tall with absurd optimism in the face of despair. Some people perceive Solaire to be naive, but he is instead actively choosing to hope when he knows the world around him isn't much to be hopeful for. Is this not why he offers jolly cooperation to us? So that there is a small chance for the chosen undead to realize that hope might just be the scariest driving force of all. There is a famous saying by Solaire.
The sun is a wondrous body, like a magnificent father. If only I could be so grossly incandescent.
This one saying is proof enough that he is not chasing glory through cooperation. He's chasing meaning, something many of us do in our own way. No matter whom you might have thought of in regards to relationships in that decaying cycle of death, each and every one of them, no matter how brief it is a flicker. They offer small lights of dark, even if those characters themselves cannot see that fact. These relationships are depressing, yes, but bright in their own way. Even in the bleak, crumbling world of Dark Souls 3, the bond between the Ashen One and Greirat shines with surprising warmth in such an overtly depressing game. From the start, Greirat shows trust, asking you to deliver Loretta's ring without hesitation or doubt. His scavenging runs aren't for himself, even though his own kin are selfish thieves. He risks his own life to bring you useful goods, never asking for any sort of payment in return, and is only offering to do so in order to keep you even just a little bit safe in the calamity that is Lothric. In a world full of solemn overtones, his light-hearted one feels almost like that sunlight Solaire searched so desperately for, making Lothric's version of Firelink Shrine feel less like a cold hub and more like a home. He treats you as a true friend, not just a customer or a pupil like the other NPCs, and his optimism, talking about treasures out there worth finding in a bleak world, is kind of contagious. It's not one-sided compassion either. You can save Greirat from both Irithyll and Lothric Castle, making the friendship feel mutual, not just transactional, which is a feeling the other NPCs within Dark Souls 3 seem to follow. In a game defined by pure, unavoidable death, Greirat's loyalty, humor, and generosity are a reminder, even in the darkest of worlds, genuine connections still matter. And yet, even though you meet countless people on your journeys, the chosen undead is not special. Not really. You're neither a god nor a king, and importantly, you're not even alive. But you persist towards the kiln regardless. You fight, die, and fight again, endlessly, and every step forward, every victory hard won, feels like a little bit of hope. Dark Souls is a game that makes you earn every inch of your progress through grueling hardship, and that's what makes it so powerful. Because in a world specifically and delicately designed to break you, you must keep going. The ending of each of the Dark Souls games is always left on an ambiguous note. Some call these endings cynical, others liberating. In the first rendition, you reach the kiln of the first flame, the end of the first cycle. Gwyn, once a proud god, now completely hollow, guards the flame he once sacrificed everything to prolong, and when you defeat him, you're given a choice. Link the fire, sacrifice yourself to keep the Age of Fire burning just a little longer, or just walk away, let the flame die, embrace the Age of Dark. Neither ending is particularly triumphant or even gratifying, but regardless, both endings are yours. They are acts of agency in a world that tried to take that chance of even getting an ending from you at every turn, and maybe that's the entire point. Hope in Dark Souls doesn't come from saving the world in some grand cinematic fashion. It comes from the act of choosing, from enduring, from continuing despite everything. This world is full of sorrow. Yes, this world. Not just in Dark Souls, but in our own lives. Sorrow is an all-consuming force. We suffer loss, we fall short, we get left behind, we feel small and tired and alone. But maybe that's one of the reasons, amongst many, that Dark Souls resonates so deeply. Because Miyazaki doesn't pretend that the darkness isn't real. He acknowledges its existence and tells us that the darkness, whilst it may be the most prevalent thing in your life, it is not the only thing in your life. Going back to Dark Souls 3, the world is even closer to collapse than the other two games. The cycle has repeated so many times. The line between what is fire and dark begins to blur, and even the abyss is steadily finding its place in the universe. The Firekeeper, blind and incredibly soft-spoken, is still tending to the fire. She speaks gently of endings and beginnings, and of tiny little embers that refuse to die. Even the Lords of Cinder, broken relics though they may be, once rose in unity to link the fire and to hold that darkness at bay. Think of Gale. In the Ring City, he journeys to the literal end of time and space itself to find pigment for the painting of a new world, for an artist yet to paint a new beginning. He dies at our hands, ragged and ruined, but in his sacrifice lies the hope of creation. We take that pigment he died for and bring it to the painter ourselves, bringing a hopeful end to Gale's tragic story, because maybe that's exactly what hope is. If you couldn't tell, I think about Dark Souls more than I probably should. Maybe it is because I am so incredibly depressed and don't consider myself to be particularly alive, just living. But even saying that, if this silly little gaming franchise consumes so much of my thoughts and I so desperately seek to find the lost parts of myself within it, am I just living or alive after all? I don't think of just the bosses or the builds or the secrets tucked into item descriptions, but obviously those things are included. But I think about that feeling it leaves behind, a feeling that only I think Dark Souls can leave with you. That quiet strength, that sense that even in a world falling apart, you can choose to look up at the grey and empty sky and love it anyway. It is just as Hugh Grant said.
If you look for it, I've got a sneaky feeling you'll find that love actually is all around.
A sunset over Onolondo, the quiet hum of Firelink Shrine, the waves of Majula, the soft prayer of a firekeeper, the joy of summoning a complete stranger that you'll never see again, who leaves after a victory well-deserved. Maybe that's what makes Dark Souls so profoundly and incredibly human. It isn't wrong to feel sad or empty, because even if the world, the whole world, makes it feel as if it will take everything within you to place one foot in front of the other, you'll get there eventually. If you look for it, I think you'll find that hope actually is all around. Until next time, praise the sun.
Don't you dare let yourself go hollow, lest my time spent on you be wasted.